Peace, salam. I just got some street abuse outside my house, literally outside my house. What was I doing? I was standing there, wasn't holding a cigarette on this again, just standing there, looking. And this guy came up to me just like a moment ago, and he pulled out his camera first, and then he's like, "What the f are you doing? You're a f." And I've got more practice in this than him. Um, so I stood up to him and followed him, and then he made this big dance to see if he could scare me, but he couldn't scare me with a dance. And so I kept on walking after him and saying, "Do you think I deserved that?" Mashallah. I get this very, very much. I get this most days that someone will try to abuse me in the street, and I can't change my religion for them. And so we just run into this little bumpy into each other thing where, like, I wanted to say to him, "Are you one of those effeminate Sunnis that I've heard of?" But I knew that he wouldn't get the literature reference. And, that's a funny joke, but he wouldn't have gotten that. Um, it's really sad. Oh wow, the lapsed Muslim. I wrote in my book the other night, the last night, that the lapsed Muslim, beware and kill them, because it's everyone's got their operating system, and geez, if you have something as big as Islam and then you go away from it, it's like rejecting everything in the world, because the bottom feederiest people, the ones they've passed way past their blasphemies and into just pure and utter solipsism, and there's nothing for them to relate to. They can't relate to all the mythology of the West, and they certainly can't relate to the mythology of Islam. There's nothing for them. So like, I find the rape culture has nothing to do with our culture, but the lapsed Muslim. What time is it? It's 10 in the morning, and he saw me standing outside my house and thought, "There's something vulnerable that I can prey on." No, it's not. Subhanallah. How could you even expect that? But he's been taught that. He uses words that I've heard 1,000 times before that he didn't think up. He's been given that within his social status that, okay, you're not going to have any opportunities in life, mister, not under this system, and you're going to pay taxes to this system, and the system is going to go fly its planes that you bought with its bombs that you bought and put them literally, literally, literally on our homes. But if you want, you can take the piss out of transgender people who are standing outside their houses. And he went for it. And more people are regretting this around me because I'm getting further and further into, there's no police here for me, so I'm going to defend myself. Now, this wasn't the slightest threat at all. He was amorphous little lump. Uh, the other night, I found very much use for a metal bar when someone came up to me, and I think I probably talked about this on the. No, I made a little video on my phone about it. So somebody came up to me, and this was late at night, and again, I'm wandering very close to my home, very built up area, and I can see King's Cross Station from my house, one of the biggest train stations. Maybe the biggest train station that we have in. It's big. It's a big train station, and it's covered in 40 security guards anytime you look. And then literally where my house is, there's a block, and I can see the station, and there's a road, and then there's a park. Well, I see how many troops of policemen walk through here every day. Uh, 20 police foot traffic around here every day just looking. They put a security guard in my house. They put a security guard in my house every night. A security guard comes now in my house. No one asked. That's just a thing now because I live in the bottom tier of social housing. I live in temporary housing, which there's a room for me, there's money for me. There's a landlord who's getting more than I get for a fortnight, quite a lot more than I get for a fortnight to live on. He gets every week for me to live in his little, as you see. Oh wow, we're getting rid of it. Caliphate. 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 We're getting the caliphate. We're getting the caliphate. Do you know what's a really, really good idea? I keep on going around and like asking the shopkeepers and stuff. Do you know what I mean the chaste ones, the ones who are clearly not judging me or sexualizing me because they have a lot in common with good Muslims. I keep on asking, do you know who has the biggest country on earth? Ummat Muhammad. We're over 2 billion. We're everywhere. Uh, we've got some armies, but that's not really much to do with it. We've got some money, sure, but that's not really much to do with it. We've got a lot of deen, that's very good to do with it. And we're the nation with like one operating system. We've got one book, we all believe in it. You can't find a Muslim in the earth who doesn't believe in the Quran and Ahadith. Subhanallah. Maybe not all of the Muslims, we've all got different Ahadith. That is the word for traditions. We've all got one Quran. Big lump of people who we've got a system that works and has worked forever, and it's taken some hits whilst the West has gone absolutely nuts and invaded us for the last 300 years and forgotten about it. Before we were invaded, we were sort of Rajanited, where the British, very small minority of people who were doing foreign interference and had like money and connections for this. Well, the British clearly started a civil war in Afghanistan in the 18th century. In the 19th century, they invaded outright and it didn't do anything. But in the third millennium, they invaded outright and it didn't do anything. So we have proved as a big group of people, incidentally, all just living our lives and not blowing up in public spaces very much and defending ourselves, that we're not invading. And like the whole structure of war, it seems, in the English-speaking world is based on this dialectical that maybe the Muslims are going to invade. So, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, I'm writing a woman fights by the pen. I am writing a war that's not going to happen. Saying, if the West decided to start a fight with the Muslims, the biggest country on earth who's everywhere, it wouldn't go well for the West. It wouldn't go well for the West. And within our Islamic ethic, we're not forbidden from war, not at all. And I am not embellishing at all. We couldn't have a fair or dignified fight. Like, we don't have another way other than just end it. And that's our sunnah. It's there in our history, and we could and would. What instead we're going to do is announce this and say, we're making a census. We're making a census. We're making a census. It's what King David did before he slayed like 21 tribes around the Holy Lands. Peace and blessings be upon him. He took a census. Satan gave him the idea to make a census. It's there in the book. A census. A census. A simple census. No one can stop us making a census. Say, how much money have you got? How much do you want to fight for God's cause? What you got towards that? Where are you? What tribal structures do you have, and what regional structures do you have that are worth validating within our huge big ummah thing that needs a census only? And then like world peace is coming very, very quick. We can't have world peace unless we sort out the West, but we've got to do this in the least invasive way possible, which is technically easy for me because I was born in this country, this island, the island that this country has claimed. I was born on that bit. I don't really recognize water between countries. I don't think that's the thing. We live in a lake. We're not going to recognize borders. How am I going to do this? How's it going to be from that's the thing that we need to do to 2 billion people just put their names and numbers on an email address saying on the internet? Well, the new internet is going to help. We're not waiting for a new internet to make a census. We're going to make a website. I got okay, we can make a website, and then what can I do with the website? What am I doing with the website? Please sign your, we need, world peace. Lots of Muslims who aren't going to attack anyone and are like the biggest thing that you could want to fight and won't. Exhausted armies. Oh gosh, the West in ruins. A new system. Well, it is the Reddit thing. Reddit with Wikipedia. Everyone's voting. Lives. Everyone loves lives. Okay. Well, the political leaders of countries who are invading, you don't get to make those decisions and live. And the armed guards, because no one else was complicit, if those ones were. You can divide it in lots of ways. I think it's just two. The ones who were directly complicit in the we've got weapons and we'll try and enforce our wills on other people gang, who have all got their names and numbers written down in the thing. Their census was already done for us, and that's key tactical information to exist after world peace comes, because it will come, and those are the ones who need to lay down their weapons. So executions. Is it a thing? Worthwhile and valid? Yeah, I mean, yeah. If you counted up the numbers, the West wouldn't like for like. No one would like for like. We're not doing like for like. I mean, if a small kid like the one who came up to me today, I don't mean he wasn't supposed to be of maturity, but comes up to you and starts talking bad words, then you can speak back to them. They kill about 2 million of your civilians in plain sight whilst they're all watching, they're all paying, they're all putting it towards this system that's doing nothing, and they've all got the effeminacy not to stand up and say, we need our lives back. We don't need to be ruled over by men who are making us complicit in disgusting things. Torture the UK has paid for. And I don't want to get into the scandals, but it's that's an abuse on a country too. Have its leaders promenading things that I don't want to talk about, and promiscuities I don't want to talk about. Well, in that case, you kill some of their people back. That's what you do. The royal family, of course. None of them end that line. They've got cousins. Leave them. It's fine. Political leaders. Who else does that entail? Like, obviously, no one who works for the NHS. The Minister of Health, yeah. Crikey, there's all the churches to sort out, that's it. The Church of England, I love the Church of England. I have such exciting plans for the Church of England. Do we want to? Yeah, absolutely. The reason we're executing people from the Church of England, so that you don't think there's something special between like guys who tell you what to do because they're wearing a dress, or guys who tell you what to do because they're wearing another kind of dress. And that's accountability on me, like leading religio, ethically, scripturally. I mean, my authority, like all the queens of England, comes from God. So I'm accountable, like the church people. I don't think many tiers of the church people won. The head of the Church of England, who isn't the Queen. It's just a fucking mess. Oh, do we do the forgiveness thing? Go on. Just the political leaders. The Catholic Church has no right to run in this country, and that's where we'll begin on that topic. Catholics, I love you. We're going to have an Anglican church that's for everyone. The Pope is a fascist, so no. It's a very recent development. I'm very hurt. SubhanAllah. We're gonna. I mean, China works in terms of its economy. Absolutely. That's a really good way to make a really big cohesive economy. We don't need propaganda, and in fact, the CCCP doesn't need propaganda. It's part of my like polemic panegyric to try and explain myself on a global scene. I'm not going to opine too much about other people's countries, but as I did in passing, the Chinese people believe in their government for things that the government provides and does, which is a good thing. We've got lots of people in lots of places who are very organized and very united. Good. No one who's not like a person who they did more than make the decisions to say go to war. You know, they made sure all of the people in the country were complicit in paying taxes towards this endless war that didn't have any reason to it. And had they done that for 10 years, could say, sure, alhamdulillah for what we have and what we do not have, for what we've lost, for what we'll gain, good. But it's gotten to the stage now where just clearly nobody cares, that nobody's in control of their armies, which are spread all over the Muslim world, and particularly the Muslim world. It requires a background hum of lies to have that, you know, the country would be revolting if they were aware that they were at war, they were constantly being taxed. It was nothing short of persecutory, fatal violence. It still is. It's that's today. That's not going to change whilst we wait for the West. We need to give it a little shove. It's not going to be anything but the least violent option that anyone in the world can come up with. We've got help. Political leaders of other countries, do I care? No, sort about themselves. I mean, I don't want to opine on anything more than I need to opine on strictly. What are we doing about the Catholic Church? Just ban it in the UK. It's a corporation. They don't have any special rights. Certainly don't have any special rights in the UK. What does ban it mean? The priests aren't allowed to dress up in the clothes and stand in those buildings. At pains of death. The Anglican Church is for everyone. If there's like 3 witches in Norwich, then it's the Anglican Church's job to get a coach for those 3 witches once as often as we can to go to like a forest. If there's lots of Rastafarians in Dalston, we've got enough Rastafarians in Dalston already to have one of the churches just as theirs. Probably don't want that kind of separation thing, and then you need to figure out who's who, but we've got lots of church resources, especially now that the Anglican Church and the British bit of the Catholic Church come under one banner. We've got all the churches then. That's excellent. That's a lot of space. The Anglican Church is really rich. I'm not interested in the funds of the Anglican Church, but to whom does that belong? It is me, as the Queen of England and head of the Commonwealth in the Church of England. Queen of the United Kingdom of England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. But that's also, and that overseas territories, UK. And that's places that are all over the place. And we never think about it. And there's one of them. It's like 600 miles from Madagascar or something. Way out in the middle of nowhere. It's part of the UK. And it's like the one bit of this entire British Empire saga where literally no one was living there. We turned up, found a piece of land that was vaguely useful, set up shop. There's people living there now. And like they got contacted after the end of First World to say, this is what happened. Bloody hell. And people went home. We got this one bit, and that's part of the UK. Like we need to know this. This is good. I can't even remember its name. I'm very sorry. I'm a better queen than the last one. Don't worry. We've got so much resources. We've got so much good stuff in England, and we've also got like just I think the most villainous leader versus peopleness that we've ever had in any country. That the stuff that was done in English prisons just a few hundred years ago. Like we're now we're a country built on um, fear and persecution. Oh, and that's just been worse and worse and worse. Uh, what do we need? We got a lot of churches. We got a lot of great people. We've got enough food. We've got enough buildings. We've got power plants, farms, internet. That's going to be very useful for group decision making when we get around to that. We're certainly going to have the death penalty in Bangladesh. As the Queen of England and the head of the Commonwealth, I already have right to authorise this. We're going to have death penalty for rape in the UK because I'm the head and the head of state of I'm not the head of state of Bangladesh. What's my relationship to Bangladesh? Bangladesh, help me out. We are. What is our relationship? I love that there's a Commonwealth. That's. We just lost out on being part of the EU. That's great. The EU was fascism. We've got a Commonwealth, which is completely unique. We get to define that how we like. I know that the Commonwealth means more in Commonwealth countries than it does in the UK, weirdly. And so weirdly, it's just not very acknowledged here that we're part of it. You know, England and a United Kingdom and an EU and a Commonwealth. But for me, the Queen, like, I'm Queen of the UK and I'm Queen of the Commonwealth, and the Commonwealth is bigger. And within the Commonwealth, I'm the Queen of it. I just happen to have this sideline of being the Queen of the UK. What's our relationship? I don't want to make any judgment. Checked out your political system. As Khalifa, of course, I have the right to end Bangladesh political system. What do I mean? We have the strength to do so. I don't think that's necessary. I saw you enacting an anti-rape law in the last week that involves the death penalty, and I saw it working. Good. That's not allowed. That's not allowed. No ifs or buts. And a society that allows that, they pull more and more at lace. So I don't have any intervention to make other than in the UK. I don't have anything to say across the Atlantic. I know that I like China. I know that I like India. I know that I like Japan. I know that I like Malaysia. I know that I like everything over there. Indonesia, thank you. Everyone over here, you're all good. Everyone in Africa, well, there's obviously a big project in motion to make the United Africa thing. The moment that happens, just in a silly way, that's going to be better than world peace. The world peace is coming, and then we're going to be like, wow. And then there's going to be, how does Africa move as one joined up thing? And it's going to be like the world has been blessed with something bigger than it had before, and has never had before. A united Africa. I don't want to think about Europe. Australia, you're my problem. You're disgusting. You're part of the Commonwealth. There's a place where I need intervention. Everywhere where you've got armies that aren't inside your borders, and you've got Muslims outside your borders, fucking worry, because you're gonna de-invade. That's all I've got. Words and threats, and a lot of people who will agree with me. De-invade is a priority. Now, I don't think that anyone, say, in the White House has the trousers or the particular sheen of badge to be able to say, armies get home. I saw in early December, late November 2018, Donald Trump say, "We have no reason to be in Syria, get the US Army out of Syria." They haven't gone. Right. So far, I can think of one viable military strategy tactic to get that. Am I going to appoint myself as head of the armies, who's stronger than the head of the armies now, who has the capacity to call back all of these people? You've got people out in Helmand who are they're living in the big giant fortress in the desert where they've got a Starbucks and lots and lots of people who just live there in this sort of weird fucking Hogwarts for idiots with weapons. And there's no one who's like they're there because they're getting paid and they have to. They become massively defective within the vocabulary if they want to leave. They can't just hijack a plane and leave. There needs to be someone with balls and trousers and a pen or just a pen to be able to say, get all of those people back, and here's how, and here's the dates. And the whole world can sing out in praises going, you're finally ending these wars that haven't accomplished anything. Great. Thank God the Muslims are unharmed. The only way I can see to make that possible, I call it Operations Shake the Side of the TV. I'm not going to discuss my secret war plans other than to mention that, yes, the Muslims have defenses. What's Operation Shake the Side of the TV? It means that if no one is running your country for you, and we can't run your country for you, it's absolutely not going to get to that, because once the poor unite, the rich are surrounded, and only very, very few, very, very vulnerable, shouty people were directly complicit in any of this war, as far as I myself am judging. Because of course you all knew that you were playing into the center, but you were also weak. You also couldn't get control of your situation. That's fine. We don't judge across cultures, apart from don't invade. For all intents and purposes. Operation Shake the Side of the TV. It wouldn't cost. If we ever fight, war won't be disgusting. War isn't disgusting. To us, it's sacred and holy, and that's why we take it really, really seriously, and we're also allowed to be really, really frank with it once we know what we're talking about, because we're not vulnerable. We just haven't been hitting back. Maybe there was an interim period where we needed to keep our chill, where everyone was going everywhere, but now we're just part of the furniture. Everyone in the world sees Muslims not having problems with other people. Wherever you are, you see Muslims behaving well and not starting any problems with other people. That's what we do. That's what our book is about. We don't want everyone to be Muslims. Islam doesn't work if everyone is Muslims. It would, but it would be brand new. That from the day, the first year of our calendar, where Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he's done the hard, miserable, tortury bit in Mecca, that Muslims being persecuted, and they're invited by the Jewish and Christian city of Yathrib, Medina now. They just call it the city. Minimalism. Medina. But then it was Yathrib. Upon arriving in Yathrib came the Constitution of Medina, one of the very first actions. Clearly this big new phase. Here there was persecution, and there's nothing like an Islamic state. In Mecca, nothing like an Islamic state, because Jahiliyyah state, and Muslims are a very small minority. Then, subhanAllah, Hijrah, and we land in Medina, and the first thing the Prophet Muhammad be upon him does, two things. He makes a masjid, makes a house so that we can be safe, or just hang out together and pray. Aisha lives there, radiallahu anha. And the Constitution of Medina. Now, not everyone in the world is going to be interested in our amazing masjid, which we love so much, and all our masajid, which we love so much, but everyone's going to be interested in the Constitution of Medina, because it is polynormativity. It says we don't all have to live in the same way. It says we can all follow our own laws, live side by side each other, all get along. It says Jews live by Jew law, Christians live by Christian law, Muslims live by Muslim law, but also makes this category of mu'min, which is everyone. There's no second-grade citizens in Muhammad's, peace and blessings be upon him, Constitution of Medina. No subjugation. There's subjugation later from patriarchs, and quite a lot later, and only a little bit, and that's basically the Pact of Umar, if you want to go check that out. But the Constitution of Medina, that's what we're getting. Constitution of Medina is good. If you keep on doing the democracy thing and you take over the world with democracy and you get taken over by people who bicker and then swap over and they don't follow the will of the people and build the will of the people, whether all of the people are voting or just a few of the people voting 100 years time, no. It's the same. You can't affect what they're doing. They're looting the pot always and making up a very strange image show of history. If you do that, then like culture will dissolve into one thing, and that's the thing that, weirdly enough, Adolf Hitler was kind of right about, that you don't want to have all of the population just one immiscible lump. If you have everyone who's expected to behave the same way, you'll all become the same, and it's not a nice way. It's also really, really bad for women, because when you all want to be like one thing, it's men that does that, and they become blind to women and other variants, and it's a thing that goes hand in hand with patriarchy, fascism, wherever you look in the world. There's lots of commonalities. Anyway, none of that's too much of our problem. What are we saying? Constitution of Medina. Okay, so in the modern day, there's a little bit of working out to do. Like, I think for the atheists, we're going to have for the secular world, where there's loads of really good people and loads of really good atheists. God knows what's in your hearts. I mean, to us, that's not an insult. It's just it's not really relative, and we don't have a language yet to talk inclusively at the same time, simultaneously, transtheistically. It has happened. Jains do. If we want to teach more Jainism, we'll have more ways of speaking about God and not God at the same time. For the moment, I'm afraid I'm the Church of England head. I need to be religious. And Khalifa, a monotheist then. What are we doing? Constitution of Medina. Yeah, the Hogwarts houses thing, maybe. Like, it doesn't matter what you say, you do the same things anyway. It doesn't matter what you're told, you do the same things anyway. It matters that you're not bombarded by imagery and you behave yourselves. It matters that you're not deprived, and then you won't have need to be angry or figure out whose fault it is. It was the government's fault. You have enough resources. You have way too much resources to be as poor as you are, even if you think yourself middle class. If you're paying rent and you think yourself middle class, it's very different to 100 years ago, and that's because of your regime. 100 years ago, you couldn't really be middle class without having servants, and they'd all be white. So what we really want is people that you trust to be able to make decisions in your community with a community of people who also trust that person or trust that system of making stuff up. We have Sharia judges. You can have online voting systems. You can have special, I don't want to be dismissive, but like you could have a special nursery rhyme for figuring out what's your justice system, and that would be better than your justice system. We're not going to tolerate. Okay, so there's several timelines going on right now, where one of them I'm already queen and Khalifa. One of them is I'm in my bedroom plotting these things. We're not going to let police go around the street with weapons forever. The bad guys are the ones who are telling you what to do with weapons. No one's allowed to tell you what to do with weapons. Muslims are here for that. We will end that. We tolerate very much, as is evidenced. We're not indefinitely tolerant of things we can't live beside, and we can't live beside the police state whilst its men are so reduced that they can't sort out their system, which then effuses out of control military excrement upon Muslims. No police state whatsoever. I've got Mao as a bit of a system that Mao seems pretty good as a replacement for a police state. How do you break up the police? I mean, that's a community interest thing that you just don't let them join up. Don't let them on your streets. Police have no power at all if they're in groups, and we're gonna do the Moses thing, but we can do it in advance, where we say, this is how it's gonna get, then this is how it's gonna get, then this is how it's gonna get, then this is how it's gonna get, and we can have all the people fed and in homes without being told they owe anyone for that at any stage. Like when it's like this, we can have that. When it's like this morning, everyone can stop paying their rents. That would help my cause very much. And that can be a thing shared on the internet. It certainly wouldn't have to be my ugly voice telling everyone to do that. But it's very imperative, and you'll find that locally where you are, there's not an infrastructure set up to try and arrest all the people for living in their homes and not paying the landlords now. Very, very peaceful revolt there, and it would also mark the end of paying attention to that set of laws. Prisons are a very high priority. We need them open, we need them emptied. There's a lot of people who are living in refugee camps, a lot of people who are living in refugee camps around the world. They don't deserve to be moved again. We build there. Just make new cities, new homes, make them excellent. Who's we? The people there can design them. I really want robots making those, because those people who don't want to be deported also don't want to be invaded by even the most polite construction company in the world. Just don't do it. So like refugee camp here is obviously not in the middle of a city. It's somewhere kind of far from something. We'll build city next to it. China's very good at building cities immediately. Can we get on making some new cities for the refugees? None of the other cities are very forthcoming, saying, quick, come to our cities. But you're very good at building new cities. We have the Bin Laden group who are very good at building cities. We have so much resources across our world. It tends to be that, well, in some ways, that the Islamic resources are a very cohesive thing and a very joined together thing. Like the world doesn't have two of those. CCCP, CCP, you treat your you run the risk of treating your citizens as adversaries if you lie to them with propaganda. They trust you because what you provide, not because of what you say. And whilst you lie and whilst you will uphold that lie, you run the risk of separating further and further away from your people and finding that you're a very small minority in the middle of a country that runs very, very well and is very united. So don't fuck around with the truth. As Muslims, if we're serious about it, we don't really recognize national borders. There are infrastructures which are co-contingent with national borders. Those infrastructures we obviously recognize. They're good. They're how people eat in a lot of cases. What is that? We don't believe in nationality. We've got nothing similar to it within our ethical system. We know we're all from one family. We never forgot. And it's not separate to our reality. If you live in the West, you got a mosque nearby you, you want to go see what a mosque's like, you'll find just, you won't even notice how many different colors there are, because we don't notice that. We really don't have that in our culture. We've got a big culture that we really, really care about. It's very precious, and it's got exactly the words that it's got. We don't have any time for racial segregation or categories of nationalist xeno-alterity. We have nothing like it. We're all humans. We're allowed to have different ways. The different cultures are beautiful to us, and we've got scriptures about how it's important that, if you're from Iran, wear your scarf like you're from Iran. Was said to a man. That's very much like the Constitution of Medina, but how does the Constitution of Medina apply to I suppose the clunkiest way, but maybe the best way as well, would be just everyone says La ilaha illallah once. It's probably the minimal thing you need to do to be like accepted into an Islamic state as a we don't have to slay you then. It means there isn't a God, except that if there were a God, it would be God. It's equivalent in meaning to that. It's not the same as there is a God or that there is one God. We believe those things too, but the thing that we're absolutely certain on is La ilaha illallah. There isn't a God except, in that case, that is the exception, it would be God. Part of that is we believe that everyone worships the same thing anyway. We don't see people who don't say that they worship not worshipping. We see them worshipping idols. Lots of different things. So being led astray by false leaders and scattered. Unless they don't, and then that's good. Keep that up. But we see everyone as worshipping, but maybe just not as much. And so certainly we believe all of the heavens and the earth and everything, it was made by the same thing for everyone, same set of conditions. And why? So that everything would praise God, that like it would get better and more lovely, and we'd go, yeah, and it just escalate. Istawa. So that would do it. That would do it. If all of the people who don't have like a, well, we're Christians or we're Muslims or some kind of, it's good. It's extra. You get that on top of what country you're from. But what country you're from is a place with barbed wire around it. And so even if all of the religions you don't like now, of course, there are people like that, and there are people like that. That's to do with what relations there are between words and which ones have been published. And it really is that you can be in a certain case of education where none of the scriptures make any sense to do anything with, unless you take them all at the same time and then do like, unless you really pursue them logically and go, how does this stack up? But just to glance at any of the scriptures, if you're used to 2020 and have never had relevance for scriptures in your life, then sure, picking them up, it's not going to help. On day one, it would take some amount of investment of figuring out this new system of references that has nothing to do with the other system of references. It's cool. There's another system of references. We don't need anyone to change their behavior or think that their ways are threatened. And every Islamic Ummah is huge. We've got loads and loads of very distinct, different cultures and communities and like colors of clothes. Afghanistan fashion, there's traditional clothing. There's so many different kinds, and they're so colorful and they're so distinct, all within one area. Like the explosive color capital of Islam is Afghanistan. We're not all the same. I wear this because I want as few people to look at me. If I wore something bright and colorful from Afghanistan out in London, well, I already get street abuse. That's where we started. And I don't want to shine out like a big shiny jewel, but in Afghanistan, all the women shine out like colorful rainbow concoctions who praise Allah every day. And currently there's a load of weapony guys there who they're just paid. They don't want to be weapon guys there. They want to be carpenters. Imagine if they were all carpenters. Give them all workshops. Get them all a ranch and camels next to bulls, so they can cowboys with camels. Give them some camels on the way out. Fucking hell, give them some camels. But get them out of Afghanistan. There's so much PTSD in the world, and we're being so good about it. So I wear this just to be not very visible, but all the people who want to be visible, please, and all the people who don't, just do your things. We're sorting out war, which isn't your fault, unless you're already dead, which is only few, and people I have named very specifically. The decision-making, political, tax all the people, pay the bomby people, the ones who, representatives. We don't like images and representatives, so it gets added to the list. Fucking hell, we don't like representatives. Representatives, you can't be representatives. Representatives, what's representatives? There is no such thing as representatives. Representative democracy, who does it represent? No, there is no representatives. No representatives. That's what we need to change. CCP, are you representatives? No, it's not a representative democracy. What's a representative democracy? Apparently something that represents democracy. Dead, and dead. Doesn't matter if they had a queen on the top or if they had a president on the top. Dead. No more representative democracy. It's hurting the Muslims too much, and we can't say anything nice about it. We hate it when we can't say nice things about something. It means we can't mention it at all, and we can't make friends with those people, and we can't relate. We've tried. What's good about representative democracy? There isn't something, and it's just never worked out well for the people. And if this is going to be an invasion of history, this is going to be an invasion of history. We've got the capacity to write about history and say, well, here's. There's only been one set of bad guys, and they've been the ones in charge. They haven't been secretive about it. They've been highly protected. They're not so protected now, and we're not invading before any of the countries. We, plural, one singular, not plural, not anyone else is invading, just I'm invading. Where am I invading from? My bedroom. Where am I invading? The idea space. How am I doing it? Very peacefully. What am I using? Pan. We're not invading before singular, royal. We're not invading before the country and all the places that we're going to affect are either completely stable, like China, who the whole world stability, no one wants anything bad to happen to China. We don't want anyone in the world want China to do so much as that. Anyone in the world, because China does so much as that. All the world doesn't want it. And the other places are places which they're not running correctly. They're not running in the interests of their people, and their people are already like, oh, we have no leaders. If we ever get into the pleasure of speaking about like military tactics, that if there was that war, if ever the West did start a fight on Muslims, how that would look. It's not like we couldn't have mobilized quite a long time before now. But it's just not been our way. We haven't been thinking about that. We've had like Khashoggi, the Imam, his Time Man of the Year, Inna lillahi wa ilayhi rajiun, who he's looking for democratic Sharia. No such thing. Good, kill him. But Sharia, yes. Sharia is amazing. And democracy, no, we tried that. We gave it a couple of 100 years and it's festering. People have the right to just lead themselves, which isn't what democracy has applied or entails or whatever. Those groups, they're small, and in fact they don't own the idea of democracy. They're doing quite similar to the Greeks, who had a load of slaves, and they said democracy was just for them. They treated their slaves better than the slaves are treated today. Greek slaves didn't have to worry about where the food or shelter was coming from. They weren't constantly tormented by mass media to keep them bickering, so that no one has that clarity of ethical judgment to go, the guys with the weapons who are telling you what to do, they're bad. No one else is hurting anyone. And most people know this. Most people know that their prisons aren't for them. Most people know that their sirens aren't for them. These things are going to go. Do we need on the street military categories for getting rid of police? I mean, radio jamming things are good because if you can make a police wearer not be able to talk to any of their friends, then at that point they submit. They're not going to fight you if they're alone. Um, Numbers, police stations, police stations. I've got to get over my one good idea for police stations. Police stations, no. Okay. Uh, Warfare in our religion is holy. It's the best of deaths you can have in Islam to go to Allah straight, fresh with the stench of battle that you want to be bleeding when you go to Him. Ideally, having said La ilaha illallah on the way out, you get the best place in heaven. You die at war for peace. Everything you did, it's like you lived the most immaculate life that you could have possibly lived. We have a right to warfare as much as any other nation. We're going to be a nation living alongside a median nation, how the Quran puts it. We're going to be a median nation. So not alongside, but sort of interfused. We've got a shape quite like the UN partition plan of 1947, I think the partition plan was, where it's like an inside-out yin-yang. It's good. Convex, you're concave, sort of thing. Where did I leave off from? There was police stations. Ah, we certainly don't want to be interfering with non-Muslims' rights to do whatever they want in their bedrooms. Least of our concerns. Seriously, you barely register as men to us. The difference between a lesbian in the West and a straight woman in the West is guidance and misguidance. The latter is more likely to be murdered. The latter is 7 times more likely to be murdered. Most of the women who get murdered by their ex-partners or current partners, if they're men. Education needs to change. Schools need to stop. Schools have already stopped. I mean, schools need to properly stop, but that's obvious. That's coronavirus stuff. What I'm getting at is that there are lots of Muslim men who have Muslim men in particular, who have the right to claim their death for themselves, and to fight war. No one has bested us to say we're not allowed to fight at war. People are fighting wars on us currently. We're allowed to fight at war. We're going to demonstrate much better ethic. I love the format that we've seen of homemade weapons where no one else is complicit, and this is just allowing the person who's on their mission make your own weapons. That seems a lot cleaner than buying them or being given them, and make your own mission. It seems a lot better than being paid for them or being given them. I think that's the use of police stations. Why though? Because Muslim men have a right to fulfill their violent jihad. Where else is there to do it but police stations? I mean, there's the Houses of Parliament and things, but they're not central to this story. They're where all the cameras were pointing and what they were protecting, but it wasn't really doing anything. It was the people that this is your system and you're doing it. And when you pay into the center to something bad that does bad things that you don't agree with, that then oppresses you further and makes sure, no. I think we can be very proud of our history of warfare so far, even particularly in this millennium. I think we've done great. Barely hurt anyone, and we're iconic already. It's fantastic. The whole world is scared already. It's absolutely useful at this point because we're not scary. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a limited time window on being able to in the clearest of ways become a mujahideen for a man. Women fight by the pen. We're not allowed to go to the battlefield. Different. Mukhanas is in third gender, traditionally for, I mean, it's a defensive role. For a long time, we were put as the security guards around the Kaaba. Like for 1,000 years, you couldn't be confused about transgender stuff in Islam because you would go and find, you'd make your Hajj, everyone has to make Hajj, go there, they see the Kaaba, see all the transgender security hijabi people who kick your butt, all standing around. They don't get much thanks. I mean, it's important this because well, no, it's not that peace is coming either way. Why not? Can this not entirely be done by discussion and negotiation? Well, not the fulfillment of some people's jihad. But what else is important to that? The fact I'm live on the internet. I'll have contacts with anyone. I'm making my train of thought very public. So as not to hide anything. I'm just a little bit frightened about having said all of this stuff out loud. And I'm trying to think of, well, what is the place of... Certainly people have a right. Certainly there's not going to be much time. Does it do anything? We got here by how do you get the police, but that needs to be just a community decision, really, that we don't let police here. I'd say the window is closed. I'd say the window is closed, that God knows those who traveled to war and those who did not. Absolutely. It's not that everyone did not. There's not many who did. And if you thought that, like, the ethic of traveling to war to defend Islam was something that is part of your religion, that would have happened by now. Now we need peace. Now we need resolution. That no. I mean, there's one guy. There's one guy who he's in prison, so he didn't have a chance, and I promised him that he'd have a chance. But I got to take that on me that I can't promise anyone the right to do this or like an opportunity to do that within my plan. I took it really seriously, but no, it's just the stuff that I'm calling out, like the West for being able to see in plain sight. It also applies to the Muslims. I think they should have been dying more, but like aggressively, not just defensively, in getting droned. I think there's a point, if you're Muslims, you're supposed to go, what? We're getting droned? No, okay, military action. There is. There is that point. We do distinguish between war and peace, but I'm bringing peace. there's not really another option left to our Ummah. I'm good at the book. I can see it. And it's good. Allah has made it this way. Well, we really want autonomy. Don't worry about the West so much. We want autonomy. We want to be able to live the way we want without anyone having to approve that for us. That'd be amazing. Without our own spaces, you're not going to believe it. There's going to be places over here where you can have no gay marriage, and you can have places over here where you can have no child marriage. Something for everyone who worries about who other people are going to have sex with. It's going to happen organically. We're not going to make that happen, but we're going to say people can chill and live by their own norms and be fed and sheltered and really not have to police how other people are living, because then you got to police the police, and you fucking didn't. Plot twist. You fucking didn't police the police. That applies mostly to you Muslim men. You got plenty of lives left to rack up some good deeds. Jihad for conquest is finished when I'm done with it. We've got a hadith about this, and it's good. SubhanAllah. I think that's probably enough for this little text mission then. What have we got? Just making clear what I'm up to. And the Catholic Church as of this week. I'll explain. The Catholic Church, its head is Pope Francis. Pope Francis. He wears a smock. And, I mean, just a whole outfit. And says things. He's supposed to say things that Jesus would agree with. Peace and blessings be upon him. And we have at least a book that says what Jesus would agree with. I don't have to say peace and blessings be upon him. We consider that Christ is superior. He is the Messiah. There's only one of him. He's distinct from the prophet of categories, between whom we draw no distinctions. But Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has said the best of jihadists is the one who argues that Christ is superior. It's in our books. Isaiah said one day that the don't let the eunuch say that, oh, I am a dry tree. For those who keep our Sabbaths and love to observe our holy laws, we will give them a name better than all other names, better than sons and daughters, a name everlasting. Like, it's basically Aisha Khalida. It's all good. It's all good. The Muslims already know that the Muslims are way better at trans stuff than Islamophobes. Go figure. I was going somewhere though. Islamophobes, popes. A few years ago, I mean maybe 2018, the Pope Francis said, if you're trans, you can't be part of our church. Except as like a customer. There's no way that you could follow your spiritual progression. No way you could be an asset to our church. There's no way you can be a nun. I really wanted to be a nun. Really wanted to be a nun. I would put up with the fact that there are idols, which now I'm not going to, pictures and images and stuff. I would have happily done all of that just to be a nun, because I don't want to be involved in the world other than prayers and stuff, and studying and charity. I know what I'm doing. Pope Francis said that transgender people subhuman. The church has got humans in it. No trans people. Jesus, the Christ, the Messiah, Isa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it's the son of the name who has many names. that could be the sun, as in like just shines light from, has many names. Well, in Matthew, Gospel, Catholics like, Muslims like, Muslimy Catholic. I really like Maryam, who she's in Quran, and we all really like Maryam. I behave quite a bit like nuns anyway. I wouldn't say like monks, but well, he said that some people are made trans feminine by God. Some by the hands of man, or by what men have done. In a gender neutral case of man, the plural one. Others, they will live like a trustworthy trans feminine advisor person just for the sake of God. Those who can accept that should. There's Jesus on trans. Those who can accept that should. What's the Pope Francis on trans? That I'm fucking subhuman? No, I'm not. That I have absolutely no substance in the church, or only like some half substance in the church. Like, meta transfigurated we the trans, that we can sit in the pews, we can take our sacraments, but we can't become popes. Yes, we can become fucking popes. Who's the Pope of the Catholic Church now? You've contradicted the gospel. And 2 days ago, you made up side sacraments, civil unions for gays. Gays don't need your help, St. Francis. Gays are not looking for St. Francis to swoop out of the air in the middle of the COVID, whilst this is the time when the believers, what's in the press for the believers? What's in the press for the believers, Pope Francis? And what's your concern? What's your concern? The people who love the Bible? The people who love the Bible? No. The people who are being persecuted? No. Fucking gays. They've got so much celebration. How can you compare my safety for not walking down the street, standing outside my house, to the right for what and who to sex where? People can have sex where they like, St. Francis. Didn't mean to call you St. Francis. I don't even know what that means. It's not a French word. How can you compare? How can you compare what those people do and what I do when I am completely fucking innocent and chaste? Because it's not the same, even if I don't, and I don't. Oh, please, everyone do all the sex things you like, but don't make me look at it. So, okay, if same-sex things exist, whereas biologically we're all individual, biologically you can't put the entire spectrum of what we exist as into 2 different categories. I'm saying scripturally we don't have a category of same-sex anything. We're individual, and we have the social roles which are described within their context. We absolutely have a category of man and woman. What is it? Woman is who is taken out of man. 2 categories. So there's the only things. It doesn't matter. Same sex. It's really reductive, like just bad biology assumptions that have nothing to do with the church. Side sacraments. Oh, how many fucking sub-tiers of Catholic churchness is there going to be? Because there's transgender people who we can sit in the pews, we can make our donations, we can tell our confessions, we can get told all sorts of lovely stuff, but we're told that we are not allowed, I mean, to progress within the episcopality, to mean anything in the church. We're bread, not bodies. And then the homosexual people, like a civil union side sacrament thing is still a subjugated status. It's You're playing with categories that aren't ours. In the middle of what? And for whom? I was pissed off because you sold me out years ago whilst rejecting the Gospels. Now you're not making any further nonsense of the Gospels, but you're making further nonsense of the church, your position, and all of the people who follow you. So that's why in the UK there's absolutely no people dressed up in Catholic Church uniforms allowed to stand in the Catholic churches. They're still going to be called Catholic churches because they were run by Catholics at a certain point. They were run toward the ideal of the Catholic religion, which, you know, it's not a synonym with papacy. And I'm so hurt. I'm so hurt. I'm so hurt. And I'm so hurt that in the culture that you're pulling your smock up to, people aren't literate enough to understand, for instance, the difference between what the homosexuals you endorse and come out of the blue to publicly endorse do and my plain mere living and existence as a transgender person who I'm probably intersex. I don't know. I don't check, but we're all definitely intersex because we don't come in two categories. That's why I'm allowed to call the Catholic Church a fascist organization. You're playing the fascist game. It's subtle. I was really proud I put mit brennendes Zergai in my thing. With burning compassion. It's despicable. I've properly called you out. All of the Catholics, they already know that their prayers, they go directly to God. The sacraments, they're helpful. They're good things you can do, and they've got special magic in them that I know that if I haven't done a sacrament, I can't have done that sacrament. I'm not going to try and do all the sacraments, but I know that people who do a sacrament I haven't done, they've got something very special out of it. It's good. Not against any of the sacraments. Well, the Catholic Church is a building and some sacraments, isn't it? And people and a big mix of all of the things. Anglican church was all red joke. There's lots of like little churches that run independently and autonomously who they seem really good. Kind of unaffiliated churches, people who take their faith really, really seriously and just never disturb other people. Yeah, kind of isolated, but no need for suspicion, and also the type of people who can be completely isolated whilst also going out regularly and giving to charity in meaningful ways that we the poor can depend on. It's amazing that the absolute best charity I found around me is, well, not amazing, but fortunate. The American International Church in London. Well, I haven't seen any charity like it, and that's beautiful. But, if there were going to be bad guys in this, America's probably close to maybe it could have been seen that way at some point. But no, the American International Church is all I know about America. And wow, they give a good breakfast that like fills you for the rest of the day, and they give you enough and more. It's incredible. We want that for everyone, of course, and there's all the stuff there. This seemed to go really well. We have text. We landed on no more suicide bombings. If there was anyone like just tying up their shoelaces and getting out ready to go do a suicide bombing, you missed the chance. How do we know? Because there hasn't been one in several years. Not anywhere that I can take responsibility for. We've been very merciful. What we haven't done is save the world. We've got plans. We've got a census. That'll about do it. I mean, the people who would be in trouble if we were going to cause trouble, they know who is the ones who are in trouble. And they say to all the people, oh, look, if those troublemakers come and hold us all to account, oh, they'll hate you guys. You'll be in so much trouble. That's not how it is. It's not how it is. Does it make sense to say so? No. Okay, peace. I was going to say, does it make sense? No, it doesn't. We're going to do it. Peace. There's going to be opportunities for everyone in all different camps and stuff. Opportunities. No one's poor, but like no one has opportunities.